This moment, you're going to be detained right now, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so is there anything on you?
No.
Okay, perfect. Just put your hands in front of you, okay? Just going to place you temporarily under arrest, okay? I'll explain to you. What
are you guys doing?
I've explained this already. I'm being as courteous as I can,
Okay, well...
So anyone who has been following my channel over the course of the 8-passenger arrest knows that as soon as I heard and as soon as we heard and we learned about Pam Bodtcher, I've just had my sneaky suspicions on. My sneaky suspicious glasses have been lowered, and this video is not really helping her in alleviating any of that. So it's a little bit of a backstory. This is Pam Bodtcher, and she is actually the president of the Connections Foundation, Connections Classroom, Mums of Truth with Jodie and Ruby, Connections, That Connections. Well, she's actually the president of it, and in this video of them basically detaining her whilst they go and find the 2 Frankie children that were in her care, there is some serious downplaying going on as to what her role even is. I mean, when she was questioned on what Connections was, this is what she had to say.
How did you start to know the family? How did you meet?
The Frankie family?
Yeah.
Through a program called Connections.
Okay.
It's a kind of a life skills type of thing.
Tell me more about like when you first met them through the program, or not really know what the program is.
She was a coach.
Okay. What type of things do they do with the program?
It's like life skills. Like learning how to, it's like be honest, responsible, and humble. Those are those 3 pillars of their program. Online every Saturday morning. It's called Empowering Joy.
Now notice the fact that she says their program when she's quite literally the president of this thing. And not only that, when I was going for a little scroll through TikTok, there was this creator that basically did like a little breakdown of, the coaches that were there. She was listed underneath one of the coaches. There was also footage, which I'll play in a minute, of, Pam being there with, was it Ruby? I don't even know what was going on, but feel like, yeah, she may be in shock because she may have no idea what's been going on. But it's just a bit suspicious. Do you know what I mean? Because she's quite literally listed as the president, and she's kind of just downplaying her role, and I don't know whether or not that is due to shock or not.
And John. And me. And
there's Pam. Did you get Pam?
Nope, Pam's over here. Pam. Hello.
Pam was also a speaker at the Connections Classroom Women's Retreat in 2021. At this retreat, she presented training called How Can I Love My Body? She was also one of the 4 trainers for the Connections Classroom Live Masterclass in 2021.
Now, thanks to Jodie Hildebrandt's niece, we are fully aware that, Pam knew about the level of abuse that Jessie was subjected to at the hands of Jodie when they were a child. Pam was basically put in charge when Jodie wasn't around to keep tabs on Jessie, and this basically would mean that Jessie couldn't escape. So I'm just going to keep it 1,000,000% with you guys. I don't believe that she wouldn't have known that there was even an inkling of abuse going on. I don't think she would have. I think she must have known that something was going on. And she actually hasn't wanted to comment on anything. News reporters have been wanting to reach out since early September. 2 News has tried to reach Bodtcher for comment but haven't gotten a response. She basically just went AWOL and hasn't been in contact with anyone since this whole thing happened. Now, I won't be showing the full clip here, but I'll leave a link down below of places where you can watch it. I'm just going to discuss some things that I found sneaky suspicious and open up the floor for a bit of discussion. Now, since I've started editing this video, there's been some speculation and some conversation from professionals who specialize in this sort of thing, where they're actually questioning the legality, what even happened, i.e., if she was being arrested, why wasn't she read her Miranda rights? And the thing is, I was under the impression that she was just being detained in order for them to understand what was happening. Now, before they even went in to detain her, the officers didn't have the full story of what they were even doing. They weren't all that sure themselves because it was a separate department. They were basically sent because Springville and where they were, 2 separate departments. So they weren't even that sure when they actually went and detained her. They were looking for more information from other people, from other officers. So the whole thing was a little bit hairy, but you do have some people that are saying, well, was this an illegal arrest because she wasn't actually read her rights until I think 50 minutes in. But I was just under the impression that she was being detained. But I'll leave that clip here so you guys can make up your mind. I'm not an expert on this sort of thing.
Some of the fog of the moment, though, as you see in the body cam footage, the defense attorney I had watched that video back with me stated that it could have amounted to what she called an illegal arrest.
Now, without having counsel present, you may stop answering questions at any time.
So, should I make sure I have an attorney? I don't even know what I'm in trouble for.
Police body cam footage from August 30th shows American Fork woman Pam Bodtcher being read her Miranda rights nearly 50 minutes after she was handcuffed, locked in a police car, and questioned.
Your take on what we just watched?
I think this is really problematic, the way this was executed, from any standpoint, but certainly from a defense standpoint.
I'll explain to you that
What are you guys doing?
According to Lazaro, this would have been the opportune moment for officers to read Pam her rights.
What is going on?
As of right now, I'll just need you to give your phone to your husband. Okay. And as of this moment, you're going to be detained right now. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So is there anything on you in front of you? Okay. Just going to place you temporarily under arrest. Okay. I'll explain to you that.
What are you guys doing?
I've explained this already. I'm being as courteous as I can.
Okay, well, I'm going to call an attorney.
That's fine.
I don't know.
Which does make it really hard to judge because he's saying, detained and then is also caught saying under arrest. So I don't know. It's a bit confusing to me. Unless temporarily arrested and being detained falls under the same category, like you can use them interchangeably. But I didn't think that was the case. But let me know down off in the comments.
Any other questions I can answer for you?
No, I don't understand why having her come to my house.
Who, her?
Yeah.
Because they don't know whether it was voluntary or not. I think it's the first problem.
I see. Okay.
And the second problem is since those children are, I don't know the full details of how mistreated or how malnourished those children are.
Okay.
All I know is that's the words and treatment that they used.
Yeah.
Which means that they are severely concerned of her well-being and every child that's in that home.
Okay.
I've been a part of many DCFS cases where as soon as the parents are hooked up, kids are taken. If there's any kids that aren't in the home immediately when the kids are taken, guess what? They're scurrying around. Other family members are picking them up that way. The parent can come back and grab them before DCFS takes them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, you may be a good person, but there's a lot of people in this world that aren't.
And interestingly enough, this is literally exactly what I thought when I first heard of her taking in the kids. But I will be honest, she does seem fairly perplexed that this exact situation has happened. However, and I will say, however, when she is kind of told about the malnourishment and the abuse, etc., she doesn't come across as like tear-strikingly shocked, but that might just literally be a state of shock. Up until this point, they didn't realize that both the missing children were in the house. They just thought that one of them were. And she basically just said, well, you can take them. That's absolutely fine. But there wasn't a massive sense of, I don't know, like sadness, shock going on. I really don't know how I would have thought that if I were in this situation, I would react in a much more like tear-jerking way if I found out that my friend was treating her children like this.
Right. Well, if DCFS is supposed to take her, then they can take her. I mean, I'm not going to try to fight that. I mean,
Detective
so they're just
Mumford
going
is
to ask her
coming
if
to
she
talk to you.
came willingly to my house and if everything's okay?
And she has to be taken into state custody.
Oh, she does? Why they don't want...
Maybe they are.
No, I have her. She's in my house.
She's in here?
Yeah.
I didn't get told.
I think her not wanting to talk to anyone even after this, I mean, for all we know, maybe she was interviewed, but I mean, nowhere says that she was interviewed. No records have said she's interviewed just yet. Maybe they'll release it. But I'm just thinking, like, if you think about it, if you really did find out that your friends were doing this sort of thing to their children, wouldn't you want to think back and just add in any bit of evidence you could possibly think of? And the thing is that she does have evidence on Jodie because she was there she wasn't the one giving the abuse to Jessie. She was there witnessing it. She knew what was going on, but she stayed silent. She said absolutely nothing. And she follows these same how to bring up your child tips that they all do over on Connections. She literally, as a coach, she follows them. She thinks it's a wonderful thing. And it just made, like, she was deeply entrenched in this as well. I think because she kind of knows the way that Jodie is and the way that probably Ruby is as well. I say Jodie just because she's been best friends with her for the longest. this is just my own preconception that the reason why she's not wanting to say anything is because deep down she knew. Even Jessie was confused as to why Pam wasn't being questioned.
Jody's like best friend. She wasn't like actually involved, but she was one of the people that was like constantly surveilling, like they're like the surveillance of like reporting back to Jody, wondering why she's not being, why they're not talking about her.
And did you call both the girls and say, "Hey, your mom told me to come get you"?
No.
Okay. How did you contact them to know where they were at?
I just went to the pool and said, "Hey, they have a family emergency. Can I pick up?" She said, "Sure." So I just said, "Family emergency. Your mom said you could come help me clean today." She said, "Okay."
I would just like to point out the fact that we have the return of the cleaning arc. In my last video, I was talking about this, where Pam had told the officers, and she reiterates it several times actually to different people, DCFS worker, to the police. She's basically saying that, you know, the kids come around and pull weeds and she has them scrub the floors, etc., etc.
At home cleaning this whole time and dusting and and then they were going to pick tomatoes and make salsa and then take them home.
Okay. Said you're just detained. You're not placed under arrest just right now until they figure out what's going on with their part. Okay?
Okay. Right.
So as long as she's not tied up and bound because you
I did make her scrub.
Do something.
I did make her scrub the floor, and they vacuumed and stuff because I have company coming tonight from Costa Rica. Okay. They have come to my house before and done house weeding and stuff like that.
Okay, the ice cream and the lunch and that and the making of the jam sounds banging, sounds great. But unfortunately, I feel like there's just way too much emphasis going on this weed pulling. And who the hell is saying that? I made them scrub the floors. I get it may be a figure of speech, but they've just told you that something really bad has happened. And you're like, well, I've made them scrub the floors. And it's like, it's just like a wrong place, wrong time. And I don't know, I get this off sense. And I know a lot of people say, they're like, well, you know, it's fine. You know, friends and family, you can pay to have the kids over. But I don't think it was ever like that. And I say that because, like we know now, you know, neighbours spotted the kids out in the front of Jody and Ruby's house pulling weeds at like record-breaking temperatures. And we know from, you know, footage that has resurfaced from the 8 passengers that Ruby used to gleefully say, you know, like she wanted her kids to feel pain. She wanted her kids to scrub the floorboards and like repent or whatever the hell's going on. Like, we've seen this. They don't use it as it doesn't seem like they use it as a tool for, you know, earning money or just being useful around the house, etc., etc. They do it as like a form of punishment.
Well, Kevin and I have decided that we are going to give the gift of truth to them this year for Christmas. We are going to give them the gift of boundaries, and we're going to give them the gift of repentance. We want them to really have a visceral experience that hits them. So up until now, I was really hoping that like keeping them home from school and wiping the floorboards would like really bring pain. Like, and it wasn't painful for them. They're like, oh yay, we get to stay home from school and clean floorboards. This is kind of fun. It's like,
Like what she is referencing right there with the whole 3 pillars. I'm pretty sure that is connections. It looks like something that I've seen off of the connections page. So the kind of things that they all do. And this lady is a coach. She's the president. She was a coach. She used to coach people.
I love taking the parenting class. My daughter was going to take the class and asked me if I would take it with her. And I thought, well, I'm pretty much done parenting. My kids are all raised, and she really encouraged me to take it with her. And I am so grateful that I did, because I learned the principles that she was going to be teaching in her home so I could reinforce them when I was around my grandchildren. And it's been really a great experience.
Be honest, responsible, and humble. Those are those 3 pillars of their program.
I would just like to point out as well that from all I remember of looking into the connections last year, they have different pillars for different things. So they'll have like the 3 pillars of honesty, the 3 pillars of truth, the 3 pillars of love, the 3 etc., etc. But it made no sense to me at the time. It makes no sense to me right now. But what I'm trying to say is that it goes by like a 3-pillar system. And I'm using these pillars as a reference because Pam did and Ruby did as basically like a clutch, as a reasoning as to why she was able to enforce these strict principles on her children. So what I'm trying to get at is that anyone who follows that kind of regime is most likely going to enforce that kind of parenting. And that way of treating your children. The whole inviting kids around to do yard work and not really knowing about stuff that's going on, none of that flows with me whatsoever when you take into account the backstory of this lady and the fact that she was heavily involved with the connections. She was heavily involved, and anyone who gets that heavily involved and believes that philosophy of parenting and way of being is going to act the same, or at least condone it. And that is my own personal opinion. Now, what ended up happening at the end of this video was the kids were taken in state custody and were then released to a family member who we now know was Sherry Frankie, Ruby Frankie's eldest daughter. So that is what's happened over there. And Pam, I don't believe she was detained for any much longer. I don't believe she was arrested, nothing like that. But the kids were taken out of her temporary care, if you can even call it that. And people have been, trying to reach out to her ever since, and she's basically not answered the door and she's not wanted to communicate. People may think differently, but I just think that anyone that reacts in a kind of, well, I'm not going to talk to you kind of way, if your friends are being convicted of this sort of thing. So you must have information. Align with Jessie like that. Even Jessie says, they say, why isn't Pam being questioned? Why is no one looking at Pam? And I do think people should look at Pam. I really do. Maybe the police already have, and they can't think of, if she isn't directly linked to it. But I reckon Pam knows things that a lot of people don't, and that's just my own personal opinion. Whether or not she was engaging in that sort of stuff or not, I do believe that she knows some things, and I will stand by that. So I'm just going to end it there, but what I will say is that even past looking through the clips in its entirety, the officer does flip between saying, you are being detained, to temporarily arrested, back to detained. So I think that, just to kind of summarize on that front, I think that the officers were in such a state of panic to try and find out information themselves, they ended up misspeaking. You just don't know. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video.